Anybody that's staying out at this point instead of endorsing this incredible dynamic leader is missing an opportunity.
We were just learning skills from him, communication skills. It was not about whether we're supporting him or not.
I think he's a very personable, smart young man. And I hope we're not going to have a lot of circular firing squads.
House Democrats there after meeting with the newly minted Democratic nominee for mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani, the self-declared Democratic socialist who topped Andrew Cuomo last month. For a Democratic Party that's struggling to find its footing after losing power completely in November, Mamdani, one of the most high-profile and polarizing figures to appear on the national stage. Our next guest knows a thing or two about electing Democrats, and he writes this about Mamdani recently, quote, "America doesn't necessarily go the way of the Big Apple. The New Jersey gubernatorial primary and the lack of one in Virginia will prove more informative for Democrats' fortunes in 2026 and 2028. And Rahm Emanuel joins us now. He's the former mayor of Chicago. He served as President Obama's chief of staff. He was recently ambassador to Japan in the Biden administration. He also is a CNN senior political and global affairs analyst. And like I said, worked on electing Democrats to the House way back in the day. Sir, I'm very happy to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I want to start with where kind of Democrats are, big picture, because some of these new poll numbers are really tough for Democrats. The approval ratings are really low, and it's someone like Zohran Mamdani that is front and center. Do you think the party embracing someone like him in this national way is a recipe for success?
Well, first of all, you cited a poll that CNN put out today. It shows a very energized Democratic Party, way over energized than the Republican Party. And it also shows that independents are breaking almost 2-to-1 for the Democrats. So I think that's a very telling sign. I do think the New Jersey and Virginia governor's races are more indicative both about the candidate we recruited, their message, and what it will mean to 2026 and 2028. Both women are moderates who come out of the national security kind of pool of candidates that we have in the past. And I think that's where you're going to see, I think, something that gives you a floodlight into the future. And second, as it relates to the Democratic nominee for mayor in New York City, as I think I said, as it relates to national elections, I'm more interested in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan than I am the Upper West Side of Manhattan. But you'd be foolish not to see or pay attention to his focus on the cost of living issues. As somebody who said the American dream is unaffordable and that is unacceptable to us, that is where our focus should be. It used to be when you and I were growing up. If you worked hard, you could get ahead. Today, if you work hard, you run in place and you go nowhere fast and just break a sweat. He focused on something. Now, I don't agree with his free grocery stores, city-run grocery stores. You know, city government has a tough time running trains on time, let alone a grocery store or free buses. But his critique of the problem is not wrong. His solution to that analysis is where I have a disagreement. But as it relates to politics, New Jersey and Virginia are far more significant and far more revealing about what the future beholds if we run the right type of candidate with the right type of message.
So let's dig into those poll numbers because, as you mentioned, Democratic enthusiasm among Democratic voters to get to the polls is, in fact, off the charts in our poll. I think we can put up that screen with those numbers. However, the party itself, right, and so there it is, 72% of Democrats strongly motivated to vote in the midterms, 50% of the Republicans are strongly motivated to vote. But even Democrats are saying they're really unhappy with the Democratic Party, and that is different than what we saw in 2018, right? The same period after Trump was elected the first time, where Democrats were extremely motivated, but they were also fine with the party. What does that tell you?
Well, look, let me say one thing. When you have one party control both sides of Pennsylvania Avenue, which you have here, you have lessons of history from 1994, where the Democrats lost the House and the Senate. You have lessons from 2006. You have lessons from 2010 for President Obama. You have 2018 for President Trump. So there's a physics to this. Energized opposition, independents break 2-to-1 for the opposition, and dejected incumbent party voters. Your poll shows exactly that paradigm is playing out at this moment. Now, the brand of the party, not good. Energized voters, that's more important. Every election, special and primary, since 2024 has shown an incredible energy by the Democratic base voters. Independents dissatisfied with Republicans, and Republican voters actually also dissatisfied with their Republicans. Two other points I would make that I think are relevant in this case. One of the things that your poll also showed is that nobody wants an untethered, unhinged Donald Trump, which is why the message should be about a rubber stamp Republican Congress, because they want a checkmate to what they're not comfortable with. If you look at the numbers in your poll about independents, zeroing in swing districts with those voters on that message about Donald Trump, with a Congress that has given him the keys to the car, as they did just yesterday again, that's where there's going to be a lot of gold in that mine. The second thing, and this is why you didn't ask me about it, but a side note, the president attacking his own voters around the Epstein files, just on a political basis, forget the legal, etc. I find that a strange strategy, since your entire goal right now is to energize your voters, by the president of the United States calling them stupid, that they're being fooled and played with, and they're weak. That's a very unique way to energize your base in a midterm election where the other side is already more energized. You decided to call your own voters weak and stupid. So if the president ever listens to me, keep going. You got the exact right ticket for the future.
It's funny, we were having this exact conversation on the set yesterday when he said that, because yes, as a political reporter, I was, told by people like you and others that the last thing you want to do is anger your own voters. You don't want to dismiss your own voters. I mean, what does it say to you that he's willing to do that? I mean, he is, term limited, I guess, right? Is it that he's more focused on himself than the party?
Well, think about it this way. They've been more transparent, which are not really a behavioral pattern that would define the Trump administration. They've been more transparent with his medical records than they are with the Epstein files. They've been more transparent with the JFK files than they are the Epstein files. They're not transparent with the budget. They're not transparent to the Epstein files. And yet they told you what I compliment them on about the president's health and his illness here. So it tells me something is amiss here. The other thing it tells me is they got the tiger by the tail here. They've been playing on this game of conspiracy politics. The president started his career on conspiracy politics. Now it's coming back to bite him. The other thing is, I really think it's nutty, and the president's going to do what he wants, to be attacking your own voters, their own judgment, because you spoon-fed them for years on Epstein and on conspiracy theories. Now you're telling them to move along here. And I just think this is going to be another example that's going to depress their voters, and Democrats are going to stay energized and focused on a rubber stamp Congress. And that's what's also playing with independent voters.
All right, I guess we're about to find out. Rahm Emanuel, very grateful to have you, sir. Hope you'll come back soon.
Thank you.